Narration can literally make or break a film. Seems like such a small thing, but I believe it can be the tiny rudder that steers a ship off course. There are movies that use narration in the perfect way to enhance storytelling, but there are also those that rely on it to fix things. Today, I'm going to discuss the difference between seamless narration and distracting narration. There is a famous rule in writing: show, don't tell. The show don't tell rule is to demonstrate actions, emotions, and scenes through vivid descriptions, dialogue, and sensory details, rather than simply stating them outright. It encourages creating immersion experiences for the viewer by allowing them to draw their own conclusions based on the presented evidence, rather than being told directly what to think or feel. Now, if done right, narration can have a time and place in cinema, like in the film Goodfellas.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
It works well in this film because it creates a sense of intimacy with the audience. It's honest and brutal at times, but it draws us deeper into the story and heightens the overall impact of falling into the gangster lifestyle. Instead of trying to blend it into the film without us noticing, Scorsese literally hits us with freeze frames and pauses the movie to really drive home the point from the protagonist's perspective. In this case, the use of narration helps streamline the plot, providing context and connecting various events in a cohesive manner, all while making us laugh and feel uncomfortable. This has become a staple in the narration genre, even being parodied in Community.
That was it. It was that simple. At that moment, we stopped being a family and started being a family. In italics.
The guy's a 58-year-old semi-retired accountant. He and his wife had been in this car accident. But Sammy can't remember anything for more than a couple of minutes. They kept repeating the test, always with the same objects electrified. The point was to see if Sammy could learn to avoid the electrified objects, not by memory, but by instinct.
In Memento, narration works brilliantly because it mirrors the protagonist's unique condition of amnesia. It allows the audience to experience the disorientation and confusion he faces every day, while also challenging them to piece together the narrative in a non-linear fashion. The Shawshank Redemption. Narration delivered by Morgan Freeman's character Red provides depth and insight into Andy's experience, motivations, and emotions throughout his time in Shawshank. Additionally, the narration enhances the storytelling by conveying themes of hope, redemption, and the human spirit's ability to endure even in the darkest of circumstances, making Morgan Freeman's voice iconic. There are other masterful films with great use of narration, such as Fight Club with the unreliable narrator, or The Big Lebowski with the narration done by The Stranger, adding a Western-inspired philosophical tone to this quirky Coen Brothers film, or Lord of the Rings using narration for the prologue of The Fellowship. As I looked more into this, it made me think of great films with the use of narration: Arrival, Forrest Gump, Terminator 2, The Prestige, Royal Tenenbaums, and Watchmen. These are just a few great examples. But there is one film to this day that I believe could have been an all-time classic if they removed the narration entirely. Ad Astra. Let's take it back 5 years ago to 2019. The way the film starts is dang near perfect. I'm already rooting for this film to be good, and in my opinion, the film is good. But something kept bothering me in the theater. Every time I felt close to feeling an emotion or connecting with Brad Pitt's character, narration would pop up and try to tell me how to feel.
But we have what looks like unidentified rovers approaching our position. Possible pirate activity. And I got a couple of VIPs with me.
Roger, moving to flank you. Alpha, we may need some ballistic help up here. Potential hostile.
Here we go again. Fighting over resources.
We got two coming up on the rear, 7 o'clock.
Possibly looking for valuables. We'll send ballistic support ASAP.
What the hell am I doing here?
In that moment, something happened that had never happened to me before. The narration was actually pulling me out of the film experience and distracting me from the immersion. That's the deal we make with being an audience member. We show up to a big dark room and sit in silence with strangers so we can all be transported to another place and experience something we could not experience in reality. Now, to give credit where credit is due, this film does have a great narration device that happens throughout that isn't Brad Pitt's inner dialogue. but it's actually when Brad Pitt has his psychological evaluations.
I am ready to go, ready to do my job to the best of my abilities. I am focused only on the essential to the exclusion of all else. I will make only pragmatic decisions.
These never pulled me out of the film. In fact, they were kind of like the Memento phone calls, where he speaks things out loud and B-roll would overlap and we'd see what he was thinking or if he was lying to himself. This is a great storytelling device that lets us in and can present exposition without compromising the story and or the submersion to the film. This movie had so much going for it. Some of these shots are absolutely, lack of a better term, out of this world. The tone and the raw moments, even the story had me locked in. Well, until the ending, but that's a different video for a different time. Brad's performance is incredible, and he conveys so much emotion with his eyes and his face. We as the audience have the ability to empathize and connect with him and read what he's going through without being told what he's feeling, but we get interrupted over and over. But this reminded me of something, and at first I couldn't figure it out, and then it dawned on me. The studio mandated narration in the original theatrical cut of Blade Runner.
That was my profession. Ex-cop, ex-Blade Runner, ex-killer. Skin jobs, that's what Bryant called replicants. Replicants weren't supposed to have feelings. Neither were Blade Runners. What the hell was happening to me? There it was again. Feeling in myself for her.
Now, I'm not saying it's blatantly as bad as the Blade Runner cut with the narration, but it gave me the same feeling of distraction. I don't know if narration was a direct studio note to James Gray, but they did say they decided to add narration in post-production. I believe a lot of the time, narration comes as a studio note from the upper ups when they fear the audience won't understand the film. I mean, they literally released the Matrix sequels the same year because they are afraid audiences would forget or not understand what happened in between the films. But studios always make great calls, like releasing season 2 of Velma and shelving Coyote vs. Acme. Because that's what everyone wants, right? God forbid we get a hilarious dumb comedy with Will Forte and Looney Tunes characters. Audiences aren't dumb. In fact, there is a great quote by John Krasinski that I always appreciated, and I wish we could send to the desk of every studio head.
And at the end of the marketing meeting, there was this amazing guy, Jack Foley, still also one of the best accents I've ever heard. And I remember just leaving the room, I turned to Jack and I said, "What's the biggest misconception in the movie business?" And he didn't even hesitate. He said that audiences are stupid. And he seemed very frustrated by it. And he said, nobody wants anything delivered to them, you know, sugar-coated on a spoon. They actually really want to work. They're frustrated that you're not making them work. And without a doubt, when I was writing the script, I literally thought of that story and said, all right, Jack, you better be right.
Audiences want 2 + 2, not 4. I wish there was a narration-free version of Ad Astra the way there is a black and white version of Logan. I'd watch the heck out of this movie if there was a non-narration cut. Now, if you want something in more recent years that has incredible narration, I highly suggest 1883.
It's brilliant, man. It really is. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen.
How about that ending?
It was rough. It was rough. Like, I was just walking around my house for like 2 hours afterwards.
I binged this show, and it has no right being as good as it is. At first, I heard the narration, I thought, oh, it's a cop-out, or they're being lazy. But I was so wrong. After a few episodes, it genuinely became my favorite part of the show. It's exactly what the show needed. It almost comes across like journal entries from her perspective. The writing is so beautiful, so mesmerizing, that I started to look forward to it anytime there would be narration, because even though it was commentary, it said something so beyond the thoughts of an average teenage girl. The narration contributes to the atmospheric richness of the series, enhancing the sense of immersion in the setting, and evoking the ruggedness and harshness of life on the frontier. It showed growth and intelligence, but it also made me appreciate the small things and the beauty of God's green earth. On a side note, the performances in this limited series are phenomenal, but Sam Elliott's performance might be the best of his career. He did not phone this one in, not one bit. Shout out to Taylor Sheridan's writing as well. If you hadn't had a chance yet, watch 1883 if you want incredible storytelling with narration done in a wonderful way. While narration can still be effective if executed skillfully, Hollywood should avoid relying on it as a crutch. Rather than simply delivering facts, narration should aim to offer insight or intrigue. satisfying the audience's desire for discovery and nuance. In essence, it's not about giving the audience the sum, but it's about engaging them in the process of adding up the parts. 2 + 2, not 4. Not to double down on Ad Astra or anything, because I have friends who would die by that film, but the ending never sat right with me. If you'd like to hear my rewrite for an alternate ending, tell me down below.